David Letterman and Jay Z cheated on his wife at Netflix. Jay Z and David Letterman bonded over the fact that they had both cheated on their wives, on the comedian's new Netflix show, My Next Guest Needs No Introduction with David Letterman. The 48-year-old rapper, whose legal name is Sean Corey Carter, opened up about not having the emotional tools that it takes to keep my family together in his interview that dropped on Friday. Much like you, Jay Z told the former late-night show host, "I have a beautiful wife who was understanding and who knew I'm not the worst of what I've done." The usually tight-lipped performer also talked about other sensitive topics, like the emotional moment his mother came out to him and finally letting go of his anger about his father's abandonment. Letterman tiptoed into the topic of their shared experience in cheating on their wives, by starting off reassuring the audience that both of the men were in fact still married. "We have here married people with families," he said, posing it as a question, but meaning it more as a statement of fact. He then added, more declaringly, "Families, I think it's safe to say, are pretty much trouble-free." After a while, he circled back around to the topic that's been on everyone's minds since the infamous incident where Solange Knowles, Beyoncé's sister, was caught on an elevator surveillance camera beating Jay Z at a Met Gala after-party in May of 2014. "You and I have one other thing in common, and I have to be cautious how I articulate this," Letterman said, wading into the murky waters of discussing their infidelities. "A few years ago, I got myself into some trouble, and the situation was my responsibility and my fault. I did something that I had no business doing, and I regret it, and since then I have tried to acknowledge that mistake and be a better person." Letterman was referring to having to own up to cheating on his wife, Regina Lasco, in 2009, after someone tried to blackmail him with the information that he had slept with women on his staff, including his former longtime assistant, Stephanie Burkett. It was actually Burkett's former lover, former CBS News producer Robert Joe Halderman, who she was cheating on with Letterman at the time, that allegedly tried to blackmail the star for $2 million when he found out what was going on, according to People. Halderman was arrested for attempted extortion and ended up pleading guilty in March 2010 to the lesser charge of attempted second-degree grand larceny in exchange for 6 months in jail, 5 years probation and 1,000 hours of community service. Letterman, not going into all of those details on his own show, continued to focus on his worries related to his family life at the time his misdeeds came to light, while being careful not to make any admissions on Jay Z's behalf. "At the time, the pain that I caused myself was the fear that I had blown up my family," he said. "I never talked to a person who had been in that situation, and I'm wondering if this rings a bell with you." Jay Z admitted, again, that what the world thought was pretty much confessed through Beyoncé's Lemonade album was true. He first put the rumors to rest by saying publicly that he cheated in November with the New York Times. "We did the hard work of going to therapy," Jay Z said, talking about how Beyoncé, 36, helped him through that low point in his life. "We love each other, so we really put in the work for years." He went on to say that he was lacking the tools necessary to properly show his emotions to his wife of 10 years, as of April 4th. "For a lot of us, especially where I grew up and men in general, we don't have emotional cues from when we were young. Our emotional cue is be a man. Don't cry," he said. He then explained that his track, song Cry, was written about his inability to convey what he was feeling, and his literal inability to shed tears. In it, he raps, "I can't see him coming down my eyes, so I gotta make the song cry. It was my way of saying I want to cry, I want to be open," Jay Z said. He didn't go as far as to outright say it, but the implication was his inability to truly open up to Beyoncé's was led him to stray from their relationship, physically. The music mogul has only now finally declared publicly what the public has been certain of for so long, he said, to provide hope for others who have lost their way, and lost hope, so that might instead think, "Let me stick with this and come through the other side. I see how that looks." "We didn't see that. All we saw is people fleeing," Jay Z said. "We just see people give up. The divorce rate is 50%. We never see people opening bracket who say closing bracket okay, let's work through this. I love you, I love my family." He added, "I like to believe we're in a better place today. I'm proud of the father and the husband that I am today." That better place includes on stage, as Jay-Z and Beyoncé announced their second co-headlining tour, called the On the Run 2 Tour, on March 12, 2018, which will kick off at Coachella in Indio, California on April 13. Concerning the father he is today, Jay-Z shared with Letterman that although he made a commitment never to repeat the failures his own father, Dennis Reeves, made with him, he has let his anger over his upbringing go. Reeves left the singer when he was just 11 years old, leaving him behind with his mother, Gloria Carter, and 3 siblings. Having worked through blaming his dad, Jay-Z shared, "I have compassion for what my dad went through, which was anger." He opened up to Letterman about how his father grew obsessed with finding the killer of his brother, and would often leave in the middle of the night on a split-second's notice when he would receive a phone call from someone saying they had seen his brother's murderer. He would get up from his bed with his children and he would take his gun, and he'd leave the house, Jay-Z said. He explained further that his mother eventually got fed up with it, and her words fell on deaf ears. My mother didn't have the language that she needed to speak to him, like "we love you, we don't want to lose you," as well, Jay-Z said. Her fear came out almost like an ultimatum to him, that kinda splintered the relationship. From there, he was in deep pain, started using heroin, and things like that. Now, Jay-Z's relationship with his own children is strong, as he parents daughter, Blue Ivy, 6, and twins, Romy and Sir, aged 10 months, with Beyoncé. To add to that, he recently had a breakthrough with his mother, who said out loud to him for the first time that she was in love with a female romantic partner, prompting him to write the song Smile from his 4 hours 44 minutes album. In the song, Jay-Z raps, "Mama had 4 kids, but she's a lesbian/had to pretend so long that she's a thespian." Carter guest stars on the track, finishing it out with a spoken word performance, saying, "Life is short, and it's time to be free/love who you love, because life isn't guaranteed." Even though Jay-Z had known his mother was gay for quite some time, it was her voicing it out loud to him that finally led Jay-Z to find his tears. For her to sit in front of me and tell me, "I think I love someone, I mean, I really cried," he said. "I cried because I was so happy for her, that she was free." Letterman's long-form interview show debuted with former President Barack Obama. In addition to Obama and Jay-Z, the 6-episode series has already showcased George Clooney and Malala Yousafzai. Tina Fey and Howard Stern will be featured in upcoming episodes. The show has been dropping on either the first or second Friday of every month since January.